again, all comes down to this. Remember, we are going to be playing the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals tonight. So that will all be playing out here shortly. Me and Corbin going to be joining you for that. And hey, would you look at that? We have the top 8 here ready to go. So we have John Wagner and Christian Valenti going to be facing down. We've seen both of them on camera quite a bit. And so that's going to be happening. We got Grayson Nemets, Alexander Javed, Belcher versus Affinity. We got Connor Mullally did make it. Boros Energies, his MVP dreams alive versus Nathan Van Dinter on Mardu Energy Mirror there. And Jake Conan on Demir Unearth versus Fletcher Johnson on Belcher. So couple Energy, couple Belcher, and some other stuff.
Yeah.
Quite
6 different archetypes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we wanted, right? And the energy decks are going to, Connor and Nathan are going to run into each other in the quarterfinals there. So we're going to have just one energy deck into the semis. Now, look at these other matchups. We've got Belcher versus Affinity. That sounds awesome. Belcher versus Unearth. Very interested to see how that one plays out. Of course, we saw Fletcher Johnson just dominate with his Belcher deck earlier against Mardu Energy. And
we're kicking things off right away. Look at that.
Ready to go, aren't we?
Quarterfinals time.
Right?
Yeah, Grayson Nemets on Belcher versus Alexander Javed on your right on Affinity. Another 2 fast decks ready to go out the gate swinging. Both mono blue. I don't know if that's something to think about ever, but it certainly is the case. 2 mono blue decks, both trying to win the game quickly. Which is better at it? Well, we'll find out. We did see some impressive performance versus Mikey Hopkins on his Elementals deck out of Alexander. We'll see if he can do something similar here in the face of a more a different texture deck, I'll argue, in the hands of Grayson Nemets and Belcher.
I like this. We're just straight into the top 8, aren't we? Ready to go. I
guess
it's playing Belcher. It could just end in 3 minutes, you know?
Sure. We non-stop magic action. That's what we do here at Energy. We bring in non-stop magic. Here we go. We got the you see we had to update the overlay on the fly. Now it says quarterfinals correctly. These players again are in the top 8. You lose, you're out. Your chances of qualifying for the 2024 NRG Championship dream may be dead. You have to win it if you want to qualify. And, of course, get all the other goodies. A pile of cash, pile of invites, and, of course, a token and all the other goodies. Lots to play for here on the NRG series, no matter what you actually care about. You know, maybe care about all of it, maybe care about some of it. You get all of it if you win it all, and the trophy to boot. So these players playing for that. Mycosynth Gardens, the follow-up for Alexander Javed, and Welding Jar as well. That one's going to resolve, as is Ornithopter, getting very high on the artifact count. Do we have any affinity cards to pay off? Looks like we might. 2 mana. Could be a host of things. It's an Arcbound Ravager.
We sure do, don't we?
Great follow-up. Yeah, that is, again, I think only a one-of in this Affinity deck. So a card that used to be kind of the face of the entire archetype, now reduced to a lonely one-of, but has showed up quite a bit on camera and clearly powerful enough to answer, to demand an answer here from Grayson. He's going to answer with Shoal, Pitching Shoal, as that is
double
a
disrupting
card.
Shoal.
Classic. Emery follow-up is great, though, because unlike Force of Negation, Disrupting Shoal does not exile. So that Arcbound Ravager available for recast off of Emery on the following turn. And some great hits, too. Lava Spur Boots.
Yeah, that's just a huge play there. Because, again, we've talked all day about the double spelling and the ability to do it. Springleaf Drum gives him that 1 key extra mana, turns into Emery, which turns into now a threat that if Grayson can't answer, and we happen to know that his mono blue Belcher deck won't be answering Emery's in play, it's just off to the races for Affinity, and you just have to not get raced by Belcher now. But access to the entire graveyard, including a Lava Spur Boots and that Ravager for Alexander. So basically going to have all the options he wants available to him. And it's just a pure race right now to see if Grayson, who we know has a Charbelcher, he showed it off of one of those creatures earlier, has got to assemble now the mana to play and activate.
Yeah, and that's something we're thinking about, too. We saw Alexander and the Swiss kind of take care of business with the counter spells, things like Metallic Rebuke and, of course, the Consigned to Memory, which has more or less taken over the modern format. I think those are both cards that are going to overperform in this matchup as well. This is a deck that is looking to build up to a mana threshold, obviously 7. So Metallic Rebuke, being a soft counter, is going to find targets even late in the game. And then, of course, Consigned to Memory, hitting colorless spells. Goblin Charbelcher's colorless spell. So unless it's found off of something like Word of Invention, the consigned memory is actually going to work there. So all the counterspells that we saw be very good for Alexander in previous matchups are going to be good here, as here comes Shadow Spear and Soul Guide Lantern. So a bunch of the like goofy one-ups that you maybe find with Urza's Saga and stuff kind of entering the fray. I believe we have an active Emery. Using all our mana signals to me, maybe reaching for Bobble.
Yeah, you can just keep digging with the Bobble. These are a bunch of the tutor targets, that's for sure. The Soul Guide Lantern, the Shadow Sphere. Here we've got the game 1 Welding Jar even. And so that's a lot going on. And here we go.
There's some pressure. Sojourner's Companion. That one's going to represent a real clock. Having 4 power, 4 toughness can get through these goofy bozos standing in the way. The Thunderclap. Why did I say Thunderclap? Thunder Trap Trainers. Thunderclap's, I think, a real magic card. I think it's like suck them out and deal 3 or something. And I just keep auto-correcting Thunder Trap and Thunderclap. I can't not do it. Thunder Trap Trainer. Of course, we've got 2 of those got to work through. Oh, there we go.
Look at that production.
Thank you, production. Thank you. Look at that. See, I'm not crazy. I mispronounced it like 3 or 4 times. Like my boomer brain is trying to remember magic cards.
Ironically, that card would be great in the prowess, the blue-red prowess decks, right? Remember Lava Dart?
Sure. Yeah, it'd probably see. I mean, free spells are just great. As here is Goblin Charbelcher, no Lotus Bloom. We're just running it out there.
You don't have an answer for it, and I don't think Alexander has an answer for it. You just have to untap if you're Grayson.
Can we kill this turn? Can we?
That is the math he's going to have to do.
Shadow Spear the Sojourner's Companion or something, and then like Arcbound, like because we can recast Arcbound. So that's what's even making this any kind of possible.
Okay. So
is we could recast Arcbound, and
if we count artifacts, right? You can do the Arcbound. Then you would have access to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 artifacts in play. If you can turn the Mycosynth Gardens into something, it would be 8. That gets you 8 counters on something. You can then put them on. I don't know. I think
that sounds short to me.
Yeah, it sounds like we're coming up just short of 14 there.
Okay. Yeah. Well, then the next question is, can we answer a resolved Charbelcher in any way? Checking. Either spellbound only bounce creatures. No, not in the main deck. So I think through my process of deduction, we are dead.
that is the conclusion I have come to as well. And I think that is the conclusion that Alexander is going to end up at. Now, the extra Darksteel Citadel, now that's something because that's another artifact. That makes things.
That gets us to 9, right? For the Ornithopter, if we just throw everything on the Ornithopter. Okay, we can equip that. Lay the beat downs.
Moving to combat, I don't know if that's going to be quite good enough, though, right? You needed to get something out of this attack step because even if you're sitting on what we've seen be clutch for Alexander all day, the Metallic Rebuke, that doesn't actually do anything for Grayson, just untapping, activating Charbelcher.
Yeah, that would be a little late to the party here. And I think we're just going to recast a Bobble, maybe get some more information on the opponent's deck, and then die to the Goblin Cannon.
There we go.
This is what Modern's become, huh?
Well, look, this is, I don't know, play a duress or something, right?
Play a duress or something.
He played 4 tap lands, then played a Goblin Charbelcher, then untapped and activated Goblin Charbelcher. It doesn't get any more straightforward than that.
Sure.
Alexander deck just was not able to interact fast. All those cards we saw earlier go long and be really good for him. They just clogged the hand up there. That was a hand where you needed the cranial plating on your Ornithopter to just end the game immediately. You needed all the Ravagers you could get. It didn't work out. So to the sideboard, Alexander goes here on the Affinity deck. Plenty of options, right? For many different decks. I'll say that.
Yeah, we've seen this sideboard before, and I think there's going to be some good options here. We got 3 copies of Whip Flare. We got 2 copies of Consigned to Memory, 2 Damping Sphere, 2 Dismember, 2 Force Negation, 1 Grafter's Cage, 1 Haywire Mite, 1 Pithing Needle, and 1 Relic of Progenitus. I think there's quite a bit to like here.
Yeah.
What are you reaching for? I like the Forces, the Needle, Consigns. We got counter spells.
Being able to interact with, so for instance, Needle coming off of Urza's Saga is one of the ways that would have just stopped that game from ending. Right, that if he'd had that lined up, it would have been available So
Right.
the needle is obviously going to be huge. The forces help you keep it from any play. You might even go to consign to memory, right? If you just are trying to buy a turn to just nuke the ability from killing you, you can get there with that. So we'll see how much he wants to dilute his deck. We saw him immediately reaching for a few, though, right? So I imagine.
Yeah, there's definitely some. We're definitely doing some sideboarding. How hard you want to go becomes the question.
Yeah, so probably 3 to 5 cards easy swaps in. And after that, you just want a slightly more aggressive start than you had, I think, if you're Alexander. And or if you do have Metallic Rebuke in your hand, you probably play the game such that you never actually don't have Metallic Rebuke up so that your opponent can't resolve Charbelcher, or they can't resolve Charbelcher and active. Because, of course, if they have
you can afford to go
7 mana, they
could
pay it. Yeah. So, and that gives you a turn, which could be all you need. So, that's it from Alexander's side. Let's see what Grayson Nemets is looking at here from another mono blue deck, this time Charbelcher.
Yeah, Charbelcher, again, a deck we've seen a few times on camera, had quite the showing so far in this event. This one notably a Tameshi version as well. We got 3 copies of Unable to Scream, 2 Spell Snare, 2 Consigned to Memory, 2 Mystical Dispute, 2 Harbinger of the Seas, 2 Into the Floodmaw, 1 Tormod's Crypt, and the basic Mountain. Not as much here that I think I'd want to start. I mean, cards like, whatever, Consigned to Memory and things like that are things you want to reach for. But as far as like artifact aggro go, I'm not seeing a whole lot.
Yeah, maybe you want Spell Snares since you're on the draw. That's a pretty classic strategy. I don't even know if that's what he wants to do, though. Like, when you're playing a deck like Charbelcher or really any combo deck, you also have to be careful about how much you dilute your deck, right? You don't want to start pulling out the spells that you need, your Tameshis, like your 2-drops, these things that draw you cards or dig you into your deck. You got to be really careful about cutting that stuff. But then you also have to be careful about cutting, obviously, your lands, because a lot of these cards represent lands if you're Grayson. So definitely a few considerations here, but he's got options, right? And he may even look to, if you really wanted to, Unable to Scream has been a really nice pickup for the Belcher deck. Maybe in this matchup, maybe not. But as a whole, it's been you see 3 of them over there for Grayson, been a big part of him getting to this point.
Yeah, certainly. I think, like I said, Into the Floodmaw, if something like Pithing Needle's on your radar, you might have to reach for that just to really open up your Charbelchers again. But, not necessarily clear how much, like you said, how much you want. So maybe some minimalist sideboarding could go harder if you want, if you're worried about it. But I think realistically, a lot of the time, you can just kind of lean on your forces in order to get that done. So that is going to do it for sideboarding. I do want to call out, as we are here in the quarterfinals, a smooth transition from our last round into the quarterfinals. Nonstop Magic bringing, again, we're going to be watching our quarterfinals here, and then we're going to be watching our semifinals and our finals. So if you're hanging out with us, we really appreciate it. Thank you for watching the stream. Make sure to follow, subscribe, do all those things to support your Paper Magic, support Paper Magic coverage, and support us, I guess. I mean, if you don't want to support us, maybe that's not the best selling point. But you know what? Even if you don't like us, there's plenty of other talented commentators out there that Energy employs. But no, for real, everybody here does a great job. Make sure you're supporting the stream. And, we already have our dates lined up for the 2025 season. Of course, this is the last event of season 2 of our 2024 season. Our last event of the year will be the 2024 championship. And then we have our first 4 dates of season 1 lined up for next year. Going to feature a lot more team events. I have it through the grapevine, I've heard. There's going to be quite a bit more team events. And the final event of that season is going to be a team showdown. So if you're looking to win, you're looking to win big, you're looking to do so with your friends, season 1 of 2025 on the Energy series, start booking those dates. You can find out more online. And I think we have a slide somewhere I can show you as well. We get to that between rounds. These players are shuffling up, but did want to call out, there's going to be plenty of Magic opportunities. If you couldn't quite qualify for the championship this year, couldn't make the events, whatever, there's going to be another one next year. It's the great thing about NRG. We're going to be here bringing you competitive Magic all year long for as long as we can physically do it. So all that out the way, make sure to support us any way you can. I'm telling you, Norm does an awesome job, and these events are fantastic. And with that said, there's a lot of these lines. These players shuffle up here for game number 2, including, like I just mentioned, that championship invite on the line. Winner of this event punch their ticket straight to the championship. One of the, literally the last weekend to actually do so. And some of these players, of course, fighting for points, meaningful point thresholds as well. Talked to Christian a little bit about what that means to him. We've talked to Connor as well, playing for the MVP. So alongside all these invites, the Pro Tour invites that are on the line with the championship, the RC invites that come with winning these events, the trophies, the glory, and all those kinds of things. And of course, the pile of money. Cannot forget about that. There's a lot on the line for these players. And unfortunately for I guess either one of them, only one can advance. And right now, Grayson up a game against Alexander Javed's take on Affinity. A lot of sideboarding, some good sideboard options. I'd say Alexander improves a little bit more in the sideboard games than Grayson does, but we'll see if that comes to fruition.
Yeah, he's up a game and now up a card, at least one, as we see Alexander go into the tank here for the mulligan. I'll say that I'm looking forward to the team events next year, right? You mentioned
Yeah.
final event of the year being team event, or the season being the team event, and nothing is more fun than playing team events, right? Like anyone who's ever played in a team trios event of Magic knows that to be true. You get to win together, you get to lose together, or you get the opposite where you win and your friends lose and you feel great, or you lose and your friends win, and hey, then it's
you also feel
you bring them down with you. You got somebody to be there with you. You know, you win and lose together, and that's generally, I think, one of the ways that people enjoy playing games, but especially Magic. I don't know how much Alexander is going to enjoy this one necessarily. It looks like kind of an awkward hand there, but if saw Thoughtcast, saw an island, he's going to go ahead and keep on 6 and start things off with the Lava Spur boot. So he kept the boots in and has it on turn 1.
I mean, the boots can be really good. It's a good way to turn up the heat. And if you got a big chonker, big creature coming down, a great way to get it kind of going a turn earlier, which can matter a lot. I mean, one turn is a big deal in this matchup, where maybe less so in other matchups. Get a look at Lava Spur boots, kind of a riff on the like Swiftfoot boots, Lightning Greaves stuff, where here's a creature, a equipment that is very cheap to equip and gives your creature haste and a little bit of protection from spells. You get that ward 1. It's not actual protection. I guess maybe I shouldn't use that terminology, but gives you a little bit of insurance against getting your creatures removed. Follow up is Thoughtcast, so a little bit slower of a game. I've called this out as something that has been concerning to me in the past, but every time I've done that, Alexander has just won by miles. So I refuse to actually ever count him out. Every time I'm like, there's not a lot of pressure. This doesn't look good for Alexander. He just like immediately turns up the heat on pressure and has some counter spells to boot, and everything comes up his way. So, I'm a lot more impressed with the more anemic starts in this version.
Yeah, we got to start to maybe reconsider what we think of Affinity in 2024. She got Alexander top 80 here with it, and doing so with a version that doesn't need to just kill people on turn 3. He can play a slower game. And that is not just successful. It's pretty fun to watch this deck play. And speaking of, Yellow Hat just rated with a party of 387. So we want to thank all of you for joining us in the stream. If you are just tuning in, we are in the top 8. This is the quarterfinals of the $10,000 Modern Showdown here in Chicago NRG Championship Series. 6 different decks graced our top 8. And you are watching Grayson Nemets on Belcher versus Alexander Javed on Affinity. Lotus, the Lotus Bloom ticking down to just 1 counter. So we could be setting up for that Belcher next turn.
Representing kind of a doomsday clock of sorts, really signaling rather loudly what turn is going to be the key turn for Grayson. Is here comes an untapped Hydroelectric Laboratory, going to give you 3 mana for the turn. Notably represents things like Flare of Denial, actually some potential interaction available for Grayson this turn. Now, of course, this is a mono blue mirror, and even though these are very proactive, aggressive decks, both decks have access to quite a few counter spells. So we could see a little bit of a counter fight, something maybe a little atypical for these kinds of, really fast, proactive strategies. But it's time to rethink everything about Modern, as the Horizon sets often do. Not quite all blue-white control, like I know Yellow Hat does enjoy. This is a little bit different, but there's blue and white lands in play, so it kind of counts.
So I see Belcher in hand for Nemets. I see Sink into Stupor for him as well, which can return a spell or a permanent to its owner's hand. So he could point this at the Thought Monitor that's on the stack. He could say, sure, maybe I'll just try to let you tap out and save this for an instep play, and then attempt to untap and win with my Charbelcher. There's a lot of different lines here for Grayson based on what's in his hand. Now, we don't know if he has that 4th untapped land to go up to 7 next turn for a play and activate of Belcher. And that's maybe why you see him in the tank here, as he thinks long and hard about how to answer this Thought Monitor, because there is counter magic available from Alexander as well. If the Thought Monitor resolves, he can tap with the Springleaf Drum and put blue mana back on the table as well, as opposed to just the 3 colorless coming from those Citadels right now. And there we go.
So
he pulls the trigger.
Sink and Stupor. Yeah, chooses to go ahead and bounce that one back. I imagine the punish is if there's a 0 mana creature as the follow-up, and you can just kind of still have it anyway. But did not find one. So that's the extent of the blue mana without Springleaf Drum active. So Lotus Bloom going to resolve. And Grayson now at the critical threshold, 7 mana. Yeah,
no
what do we
land
got?
No
Oh, we
land.
don't have a land, so we can't Belcher. So what do we do instead? Tameshi time?
Could Belcher.
Tameshi time. Okay.
Yeah, he could. Interesting, because he could have Belchered there with the shields down. Okay, but maybe we're doing Tameshi shenanigans here instead. This might still work out very well for him. But I say this is a blue mana down moment. So Grayson could have an opportunity here to deploy the Charbelcher, and we've seen him just play it and then pass the turn and untap with it. So some options here, but instead, look at this. We're just going off with Tameshi. Whenever one or more
Tameshi
non-creature
makes mana, right?
yeah, so whenever one or more non-creature permanents are returned to hand, draw a card once each turn. White and X return a land you control to get a mana value X or less back. So for one white and picking up a land, you can get back that Lotus Bloom, make 3 more mana.
So we're netting mana, and this will actually get us, even though there was no land drop, Tameshi can maybe eventually get us here to the actual critical 7 mana to play and activate Belcher. And of course, because we didn't play a land, when we bounce one back, we can actually just play that land and give us another +1 on mana as well. So here we go. We're doing that.
Really nice tricks here from Grayson, because look, 5 mana in the pool, do the same trick, bring back my Lotus Bloom. I can go back up to 8 mana. 8 mana, it turns out, is plenty enough to cast and resolve a Charbelcher.
Can we do this with backup too? We just have like extra. Yeah, it looks like we can bounce a couple more things, and then we might even have protection. So if there's any kind of
Tameshi is a huge addition to this deck. I have not seen it performing quite this way, but this took a game that was not like winnable on this turn for Grayson and turned it into not just a win, but a win with protection.
Yeah, the mana math looking really, really good. Yeah, we have that Lotus Bloom back, so we actually have the 3 mana floating to activate this Belcher with the Lotus Bloom back, and it's critical because here's Force Negation, pitching a card. But we have that Lotus Bloom, so because we played, if there's anything in, I mean, there's a bunch of cards in it. I can't get a great look. Oh, there is no actual spells. Okay. I mean, there's a ton of stuff in hand. I assumed there had to be a counter spell.
I thought for sure there was going to be a counter magic there.
Wow.
But okay, we'll add 3 mana again anyway with Tameshi.
Can we return Belcher? No, it's exiled. Okay, so never mind. Tameshi can't return the Belcher to play. But we can do the Bloom again. Can we just go again?
Oh my gosh, a second Charbelcher. What?
Boom. Oh my goodness.
What is
the Tameshi tricks just keep giving. Okay. Tameshi may have unlocked a lot of resiliency for this deck. I mean,
that was
like I said,
incredible.
I've not seen it either. This is incredible. Wow.
That was so impressive. He won through, he started that turn with 6 mana, ended that turn by spending what, like 15 mana or something over the course. That was just nutty. Tameshi, mono blue Charbelcher, I guess blue white Charbelcher, taking it down here in the top 8. What a win.
And advancing forward. And, tough breaks for the affinity. It's really tough, too, to have found the counter spell. Kind of thinking like, okay, you need pressure plus counter spell. Your pressure got interacted with. Then your counter spell also, wasn't good enough because you were able to double spell. I don't know. I don't want to make any kind of assertions. That's pretty scary. If that's what you're up against, that's your prospects. If you can have all those things going for you and, it's not good enough, that's concerning to me.
I'm telling you, people are sleeping on Belcher, right?
They seem to be.
And they won't be for long, but people, oh yeah, it's Charbelcher. I get it. It does the trick with the lands where they're not really lands, right? I get it. That's cool. You can do the thing. But what it just did with Tameshi there, that's the kind of stuff that turns it from like, oh, this is a deck that exists to, oh, this is a deck that exists. And that's what people are going to be realizing from here on out.
With that is the first round of the quarterfinals. We'll have to get a quick look from production. Do we have a second backup? Yeah, we do have a backup. So we're going to get to see a second match here of our quarterfinals. So we're not done bringing you Magic. Of course, live action continues. And it's Connor Mullally at 5 life points versus Nathan Van Dinter on Mardu Energy. The Energy Mirror. I know how much everybody loves the Energy decks. And I mean, to be fair, the gameplay is pretty interesting, but this one looks pretty over to me. And so, yeah, we have tuned in live here just in time to get game number 3, which should give us some time to take a quick look at their sideboards and, of course, their deck lists. While we do so. So maybe fortuitous. I mean, maybe not if you are here to see more Magic.
These are the only 2 energy decks in the top 8. Both of these players met in the quarterfinals, right? One on Mardu, one on Boros. Throughout the day, we saw Energy. Actually, honestly, we saw it lose on camera a lot. But we did see Mardu find some success, right? With the hand disruption that it can bring in or have in the main deck to give it that edge against the field. Now, I would think that the Boros deck might have an edge maybe in game one as a result of that, but Mardu also means access to more removal in the sideboard. So I think both players, as we saw them split the first two games here, take a look at Connor's sideboard.
Quick
And yeah,
look
I mean,
here.
you just see like cards that definitely maybe not built for the mirror.
Yeah, we got 3 Magebane Lizard, 3 White Orchid Phantom, 2 Disruptor Flute, 2 Fear Fire Foes, 2 Orange Chant, 2 Thraben Charm, and a Gigantha the Wellspring. That's your companion, obviously. Not clear how. I mean, what do you like here? What are these phantoms don't do anything really,
Well,
right? They're just like
I'm
another
curious.
threat.
Actually, I'm actually curious about Fear Fire Foes.
Yeah, sure. Just Dance the One Rings.
So, and this is the matchup we talked about where you need a creature to target with it. Well, in this case, it actually can, for 1 or 2 mana, or rather, I'm sorry, for X equals 1 or 2, so 2 or 3 mana, can poke down most of the relevant creatures. And if you need to get through the ring protection, it also enables that. So I don't know if you want it here, but hey, maybe you do.
Yeah, notably the gets each one with the same pings, each one with the same name, but by the same controller. So you don't get, you don't Maelstrom Pulse your own stuff like we saw that happen in the past. Yeah. All right, well let's see if the Black Splash adds anything else. Let's take a look at Nathan Van Dinter and his take on Mardu Energy. Again, the only 2 decks in top 8. We got 2 copies of Dreadnought Magistrate, 2 Dreams of Steel and Oil, 2 Duress, 2 Exorcise. 2 Nihil Spellbomb, 2 Ragavan Nibble Pilfer, 2 copies of the One Ring, and there's your Gigantha Companion. I'm a little bit more excited by this sideboard, but even still, more hand hate, I'd say, than removal.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea is that when you get into these matchups, these mirror matchups, right, there's maybe only so much you can do because, look, your deck's already somewhat set up, especially if you're looking at the Mardu version here. I think Bowmasters is probably a bit of a breaker, right? That shoots down a lot of creatures while leaving behind a body. I think that one probably can go a long way. So that said, Connor has a Goblin Bombardment. Down on
off to the races of these players, but no creatures in play. Kind of surprising. I'd call these both creature decks ostensibly. These.
I mean, it could be a thing where, like, if you think of in old mono red mirrors, it'd kill each other's creatures back and forth, and it would come down to whoever had the last thing standing. I mean, maybe these guys plan on just destroying each other's stuff and going from there. But hey, Goblin Bombardment for Connor is pretty nice if you do get into that situation, right? If you think about it specifically against Bowmasters, like I just talked about, Bowmasters comes down, tries to shoot your thing. Well, now you can just sack your thing to Bombardment to shoot the Bowmasters. So that 1/2 drop here for Connor actually provides a whole bunch of play to the matchup as we sort of dig into what looks to be like a long game here.
Yeah, critical reprint, I believe, in Modern Horizons 2. I think that was Modern Horizons 2, not Modern Horizons 3, as a Modern Horizons 3 card does come down in the form of Ajani Nakatl Pariah. And with the trigger on the stack here, we're going to go after it with Galvanic Discharge. That way there's no kind of funny shenanigans happening. But like you just mentioned, the Goblin Bombardment, going to be able to do some pinging action if you do want to go that direction, if you value the damage over using the energy. And also, you still get the 2/1 for your trouble. So having Goblin Bombardment in play first for Connor gives him kind of the option to make this game about what he wants to be about and gives him a little extra value for his trouble. So not the worst exchange.
Mm-hmm. Well, and right, so that the energy doesn't come about as well, right? Because of the sacrifice. So nice. You see it already paying off there for Connor, even when you lose your creature. And now he's able to actually keep around a token from that. So Bowmasters was the draw, it looks like, for Nathan. That's going to be a key one in this matchup. Honestly, it looks like he has a plethora of options. I see a Bombardment of his own, at least 3 lands, a Raptor. So the Bowmasters, a lot of ways to go. And we'll see how he opts to do it. We're going to start off with the Raucous Theater.
Raucous Theater bins a mountain. Yeah, not a whole lot of exciting stuff going on. Yeah, here comes the Amped Raptor. Kind of what it has like the old Bloodbraid considerations where like doing it on an empty board feels kind of goofy. And here, that's definitely going to come into play as Bowmasters can threaten to ping down the 2/1. But because of exactly what you just mentioned, the Goblin Bombardment's able to instead pick off the Bowmasters.
Or the Raptor if he doesn't plan on drawing more cards or has a removal spell lined up, I guess either way. But yeah, this is This is
We
pretty
chose to go
big.
face for that reason. Don't want to lose out on the damage, and obviously that damage can represent, nothing. So, but by not going after the token, now there's an option in future turns. Connor can wait and then maybe do like a block sack move. So, like, you might still on the back end have to deal with the damage that you lost, even if you kind of get to cash in on going face with the Bowmaster
Interesting
here
choice
instead
there,
of
I
going after the
think.
creature.
Interesting choice there to not just try to clear the board, right?
Well, you don't get your amass army, right? So if you do the sack trick,
Yeah.
like you actually have to do damage or what, like the ability has to resolve to get your amass one. So it is pretty costly to go after the 2-1.
That's fair. That's a great point as well. So Nathan opting instead just to fill his board out a little bit here. And Connor's doing the same with the Ocelot Pride, but we still remain.
And another Ajani. Oh,
1, 2, 3,
wow.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 permanent count.
And with Nathan tapped out, yeah, I mean, Connor's going to be able to flip that right away and start going to work on Nathan's
Huge turn.
board. Connor flipped the Ajani. We have Ajani Nakatl Avenger ready to go, ready to make more cats. Don't think we've gained any life this turn, so Ocelot Pride not doing a whole lot in that regard at the moment.
This being on the play here is just absolutely huge for Connor because this is a really, really difficult board for Nathan to come back from, and it's the Ajani that we've talked about repeatedly.
Chooses to tick up. Yeah, the Ajani. Great one to have here, especially alongside Bombardment. We mentioned kind of a slow start, but getting the Bombardment out first can have some big implications for how good your creatures are in the future. And we saw exactly that manifest in basically every way we were talking about.
Yeah, he thinks he's going to protect this Ajani. That's why you're able to tick it up. And you know what? I think he might be right because 3 lands, Nihil Spellbomb, Bombardment for Nathan, and then maybe another Bowmasters. I don't know if that's getting the job done here. But he's going to try. You have to try to start by dealing with the Johnny. It looks like Connor is down to maybe just 1 or 2 cards in hand at the end of all of this. So if you're able to find your way through the board, you maybe have a shot. So with Bowmasters and Bombardment of his own, Nathan does have a lot of pings here. And that's what we see. It starts off with the Bombardment.
Ooh, a lightning bolt in response to the Bombardment. That's going to stymie some of what this Bombardment can do. And now just an Orc army as the leftovers. Can't really gun a whole lot down. And frankly, Connor getting to untap with this Ocelot Pride might just be enough to slam the door on this game.
Yeah, it's looking at 8 permanents in play, it looks like, working towards that city's blessing. So it's safe to say that he will end up at 10 by the end of the turn. I think Nathan really needed that. Nathan wanted that Amp Raptor in play because Nathan's plan involved attacking with the Amp Raptor and the token and then using the Bombardment and being able to generally clear the board. And you hope then with your Bowmaster's follow-up that you can maybe play around that Johnny. That Lightning Bolt, though, from Connor is probably just going to be too much. And
very timely, very patient too, very heads up with that. And now I think we're doing some pinging. We got Bowmasters, so that'll give you another ping with your Bombardment. So we've thrown the Orc army at something. I didn't get a great look. I just kind of saw
it might have been the
I imagine it's the Pride, but I don't want to speculate too hard. It looks like it's probably the Pride. So here comes another one. That point of damage is going upstairs. And then we can go ahead and ping the Pride and then sack the Pride to kill the Bowmasters. So again, I mean, this is an exchange that Nathan, I think, had to do, but it does not feel good.
No, Johnny's just going to run away with this one by the looks of it because it is just a completely open board for Connor. It's got 2 cards in hand. Mana
it's 2 cards in hand, Planeswalker in play. I think there's another Pride back. Oh, and 1 ring too? Sure. Yeah, I mean, this is
that'll probably do it. That Nihil Spellbomb over there for Nathan, not doing him any good, even though I understand why he has it for Flage. But this is what the 1 ring can do instead. You play a game one way, and 1 ring just comes down, and all of a sudden they have more cards. But Johnny just absolutely crushed this one.
Yeah, Johnny doing a whole lot here. And maybe Nathan's own Flage, and that's what he drew. I think that's what you need to draw. Is it good enough? I don't know about that.
Yeah, you can Flage, put a Johnny down to 2, sack the Flage to the Bombardment, put a Johnny down to 1. These aren't bad starts. You could also bolt the token and then ping the other token and actually get the tokens off the board. And then next turn, you're setting up to escape the Flage, possibly. Yep, with that Godless Shrine, you should be able to escape the Flage after that. maybe
I think this is
Nathan
the
trying
draw
to
he
put together a
needed. I
line.
don't know if it's enough, but I think this is like the card that, like,
Yeah.
okay, you need something that's just going to snowball. Cards that do that, Flage and the One Ring, and I think Flage, you just need to not die. You're at 8. Like, your life total is dwindling.
Yes, absolutely. So big play for Nathan is going to keep the game going on. Now, obviously, he's still going to be up against it, and Connor's going to untap, draw 2 more cards with the ring. He's going to be at 3 cards from where he is now. So it's
Yeah.
tough sledding no matter what here for Nathan. But if there was way back in it, it involves Flage.
All right, so yeah, Flage is going to happen. I mean, like I said, I think this is the only draw step that I'll say this. It's the only draw step that really doesn't get an instant concession. We're just done here,
Right?
But I mean, this is top 8, and again, this determines who advances. And for Connor, even more on the line. We're talking about number 5 on the overall leaderboard, chasing down that MVP slot, and I believe he's number 17 on the leaderboard. I think he's unqualified, very likely based on his run here to get one of the at-large bids. So he's very likely to receive, even though he's not qualified right now. We're very likely to see him in the championship, no matter if he wins this event or not. But he said, like I said, that he's chasing down that MVP slot.
Where did that
free
Flage damage go, do we think?
I guess upstairs. I think
he had protection.
I think Nathan wanted to insulate his life total.
He had protection.
He did have protection.
I don't know if we can pass that on or not, if there's any more protection. If it went upstairs, I didn't catch to see if the life total changed. But I also don't know that it will matter. But
sure.
I mean, there's 2 burden counters now on the ring, and Connor is down to 9 life, at least at the moment. It went to a token.
I mean, Connor has his own
instead.
Flage.
Okay.
It's not clear that this game isn't just over this turn. This is 3 damage. You play Flage plus 0 as Johnny. Is that just enough with bombardment?
Is 3 creatures in play equals this.
Yeah, going face. I don't know that there was.
There we go. That'll do it.
It doesn't matter anyway. We just have the damage. Oh, wow. What a performance from Connor. I mean, dominating performance there in game number 3. It really shows, I don't know. I really don't know how to describe kind of this heuristic we're seeing where these decks that have a bunch of 1s and 2s aren't coming out swinging. I mean, we saw Connor, his first play was a Goblin Bombardment on 2. Like, that's not aggressive. Right. Like, I wouldn't call that as blowing the doors off the game in any meaningful way. But by the end of the game, I mean, what that got, the force that the Goblin Bombardment was of the board state was so impactful, and exactly what you highlighted, taken to the next level. I mean, every single removal spell was awkward. The Bowmasters, which is part of what you get out of black, that was awkward. And ultimately, I mean, the bombardment was the key. That's what broke it open. And we see Connor, I mean, advancing to our semifinals, dreams still alive for that MVP points race. And of course, all the players in the top 8 playing for a slot in the end of the year championship. So a ton on the line. You just got 4 matches of Magic back to back to back with no breaks. So we're going to take a quick break. Thank you for being here. We'll be back with the semifinals. Remember, we're doing the semifinals and the finals tonight. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with the semifinals here very shortly. Do not go anywhere.